Ryan's office revenge. You want to know how one word cost 8,500 people their paychecks? Ancient. That's what the CEO's son called my payroll system. I'm Daniel Morrison, 49 years old, and I'd been running payroll systems for 12 years. Not just any payroll. We're talking 8,500 employees across Texas and 3 neighboring states. Defense contractor work, government compliance, the whole deal. My system had never missed a pay cycle. Not once. But there I was, sitting in that conference room, watching Ryan Sullivan lean back in his chair like he owned the place. Which, let's be honest, he kind of did. His dad Kevin was the CEO. Exactly, Ryan said, folding his arms. 12 years is the problem. We move faster now. Kevin didn't even look at me, just stared at his laptop. My son has built a more efficient solution. 5 times faster, less overhead. I kept my voice steady. Faster doesn't mean correct. Payroll isn't a race, it's compliance. Labor law, tax reconciliation. One error doesn't cost pride. It costs people rent. Ryan actually smiled at that. That's fear talking, not innovation. Here's the thing about corporate meetings. You can feel the moment when it shifts from discussion to execution. Jessica Parker from HR had this folder ready before I even walked in. She slid it across the table now. Real smooth. We'll need you to remain for a short transition period, she said, after the next payroll run. I didn't open it. When they've already decided you're gone, the paperwork is just paperwork. So this is happening, I said. Kevin nodded. This is what's best for the company. I stood up. Look, I could have made a scene. Could have pointed out that Ryan's MBA didn't teach him the first thing about multi-state payroll regulations. But what's the point? When someone's mind is made up, all you can do is decide how you want to exit. I'll make the transition smooth, I told them. That part matters to me. Ryan was already turning toward my screen. I'll have this done by Friday. I picked up my badge. Good luck. To you and to the whole company. Walking out of there, I wasn't angry. I was something else. Clear, maybe. Like when you see a car accident about to happen, and there's nothing you can do but watch. By the time I got back to my desk, they were already cutting my access. One permission at a time, like they were performing surgery. The handoff meeting got scheduled for an hour later. They weren't wasting time. Ryan showed up with his laptop already plugged in. No more bottlenecks, he announced to the room. No more over-engineering. Click. A spreadsheet filled the screen. This replaces everything. Clean, simple calculations run in seconds. I crossed my arms. You're running payroll for union and non-union crews in multiple states. How are you handling overtime thresholds that change by contract? He barely looked up. Those are edge cases. They're not edge cases. They're the majority. Texas alone has different rules depending on project classification. Another, click. I built lookup tables. State rules are just data. Data that changes, sometimes without notice. How are you reconciling midweek transfers across state lines? Kevin was getting impatient. Daniel, we're not debating theory, we're modernizing. Modernizing without understanding isn't modernization, it's gambling. Ryan laughed. You're proving my point. This doesn't need to be complicated. I ran a full test in under 10 minutes using sample data. Sample data? I said. Real payroll doesn't behave like a simulation. People don't get simulated rent. The room went quiet. Kevin's phone buzzed, then everyone else's. Internal message, copied to half the company. Subject line, Legacy Payroll Risk Assessment. Body text. Transitioning away from outdated systems to reduce operational exposure. They weren't just replacing me. They were building a story. Ryan snapped his laptop shut. We'll take it from here. The formal transition meeting came next. Jessica with her checklist, Ryan with his attitude. We'll need complete documentation, Jessica said. All passwords, vendor credentials, access protocols. I'll provide what exists, I told her. She looked confused. And the rest? There is no rest. There are systems, procedures, records. Ryan leaned forward. You're telling us 12 years of work fits into a folder? I'm telling you 12 years of work fits into what's written down. The rest is judgment. That sounds like withholding. That sounds like reality. So when something breaks, we're just supposed to guess? When something breaks, I said, you trace it. You don't guess. And you don't learn that from a document. Jessica tried to smooth things over. We're just trying to ensure continuity. Continuity requires authority, I said. You removed mine. Ryan's voice got sharp. Let's be clear. We're not paying you to protect secrets. You're not paying me at all. And I'm not protecting secrets. I'm respecting boundaries. I slid my documentation across the table. Everything operational, clean, and organized. Every procedure I was obligated to provide. Credentials are time-limited. Vendor contacts are current. He flipped through it too fast to actually read anything. And the undocumented parts? I stood up. I'm handing over what exists, not what I've learned cleaning up disasters. That night, I set up a private legal archive. Every email, every request, every accusation, dates, names, times. No emotions, just facts. By morning, my access was read only. They were erasing my authority, one click at a time. But here's what they didn't understand. I wasn't the problem they were solving. I was the solution they were throwing away. By mid-morning the next day, Ryan was already making himself comfortable in my workspace. He rolled my chair over to his setup and spun around once, like this was some kind of joke. I'll have this wrapped up in one afternoon, he announced to anyone listening. Turns out it doesn't need to be complicated. Nobody laughed. Nobody stopped him either. I was still there, reduced to read-only access, watching my own work get dismantled through glass. Sarah Mitchell from Payroll kept glancing over at me like she wanted to say something but couldn't figure out how. There's one thing you should know before you run anything, I told Ryan. He leaned back, hands behind his head. Classic power pose. Go ahead. Bank processing closes at noon. Anything sent after that won't move until Monday. If the file fails, people don't get paid. He waved me off like I was swatting flies. I've got it handled. Look, I could have pushed harder. Could have explained exactly what happens when you treat employee IDs like multiplication factors. But you can't save someone from a lesson they're determined to learn the hard way. Running it again won't fix bad data, I added. It multiplies it. That got me a grin. You worry too much. Jessica showed up with security. Brian Johnson, nice enough guy, just doing his job. He didn't know me from anyone, and I didn't take it personally. I put my badge on the desk. 12 years of walking through those doors, and it ends with a piece of plastic making a little click on wood. Ryan called after me as we headed for the exit. Don't stress. We'll take it from here. The doors closed behind me with that final sound they make. I wasn't angry, wasn't shaking. I was just very clear about what I'd watched them replace. The first text came from Sarah around 9 the next morning. Something's wrong. One crew is showing negative pay. I stared at my phone longer than I needed to. Then Patrick Rodriguez from operations. According to the portal, a forklift operator is making $847 an hour. After that, my phone didn't stop. Screenshots started flooding in. You could watch the panic spread in real time through the messages. I didn't need to open the files to know what happened. Column misalignment. Hours treated as rates. Rates multiplied by employee IDs that were never meant to be numbers. A spreadsheet doing exactly what it was told, not what anyone intended. Sarah called me directly. I let it ring twice. Daniel, please tell me you're seeing this. I am. We didn't touch your old system, she said quickly. Like a confession, he imported everything into Excel. All of it, live data. My jaw tightened. Did he reprocess after the first error? Pause. Then her voice dropped. He said the numbers looked weird and ran it again. That was it. Game over. Running corrupted data through recursive formulas doesn't reset a mistake. It compounds it. It multiplies it. It turns a small problem into a company-ending disaster. A text popped up from an unknown number. Ryan. We're seeing some irregularities. Probably legacy data issues. We're rerunning now. I typed a response, then deleted it. Typed again. Deleted that too. Sarah was still on the line, breathing fast. The portal is updating in real time. People are checking their pay stubs. I know, I said, and the more it recalculates, the worse it gets. So what do? You document everything. Don't touch anything else. And you? I hung up. Another message came in from Anthony Miller, one of the site foremen. My net pay is $12,000. Am I supposed to owe the company now? I turned my phone off and set it face down. They wanted control. Now they owned the consequences. Here's what happens when 8,500 people don't get paid correctly all at once. The answer came in waves. Sarah called again, and this time her voice was stripped clean. The bank froze the transfer. I didn't interrupt. They flagged the file as suspicious. Amounts don't reconcile. Account validations failed. Someone else was talking in the background. Finance, probably. They think we're trying to move money that doesn't exist. By early afternoon, it wasn't just payroll anymore. Site managers were calling. Crews sitting in their trucks, engines off, waiting for real numbers. Union reps making demands. The compliance office getting calls from the state. By 3 o'clock, it went external. A reporter left a voicemail. News helicopters over job sites. Cameras pointed at idle equipment and empty construction zones. When the company number finally showed up on my screen, I answered. Kevin didn't waste time with pleasantries. What did you do? I leaned back in my chair at home. I don't work there anymore. Sharp breath through the phone. This is because of your system. No, I said. This is because you replaced it. You knew this would happen. I told you what would happen if bad data was reprocessed. Silence. Not the kind where someone's thinking of what to say next. The kind where they're realizing how bad they messed up. The bank won't release funds, Kevin said. The state wants an explanation. Crews are threatening walkouts. I warned you about the processing cutoff and about rerunning errors. So you're just going to let this burn? I chose my words carefully. I no longer have authority. Touching anything now would make it worse. Ryan's voice broke in on the background. This is an overreaction. We can fix it. I heard Kevin turn away from him. Not now. The line went quiet again. We need you, Kevin said finally. Not demanding, just stating a fact. I didn't respond. Outside my window, the city kept moving. Inside their company, everything had stopped. And they were finally running out of people to blame. When someone spends years dismissing your expertise, there's a certain satisfaction in being proven right. But watching 8,500 families worry about their rent? That part never feels good, no matter whose fault it is. Kevin called me just after sunrise the next morning. His voice sounded thinner than it had a week earlier. We need you back, he said. As a consultant. I let the silence stretch out. Sometimes the most important thing you can do in a negotiation is just let it sit there. Before we talk, I said finally, understand something. I don't fix messes for free, and I don't do it quietly. He cleared his throat. Name your terms. Payment up front. Full consulting rate, no delays, no exceptions. That can be arranged. Second, I continued, a written acknowledgement, public. The payroll failure was caused by a premature system replacement, not legacy risk. Paper shuffled on his end. That will be uncomfortable. So was being escorted out of my own department. Another pause. Fine. One more thing. Your son has zero involvement. He doesn't attend meetings. He doesn't approve changes. He doesn't speak for the project. His voice got tight. You're asking me to sideline him. I'm asking you to choose between fixing payroll and protecting his ego. The line went quiet. When he spoke again, the fight was gone. He won't be involved. Then send the contract, I said. Signed, with the payment cleared. You know what's funny about corporate security? When you're the problem, they watch you like a hawk. When you're the solution, they practically roll out a red carpet. By the time I walked into headquarters, Brian Johnson nodded and stepped aside. No questions, no procedures, just a clear path to the elevator. The recovery meeting was already running when I entered. Finance people, compliance folks, payroll leads. Everyone looked up at once like I was walking into a funeral. Kevin gestured to the empty chair at the head of the table. Daniel will be leading this. Ryan was standing near the wall, arms crossed, looking like someone had just told him his birthday was canceled. You can go, Kevin said without looking at him. What? Ryan's voice cracked. This is my project. It was, Kevin replied. Now it's his responsibility. The door closed behind Ryan with a soft click that probably echoed all the way down to his ego. I set my bag down and opened my notebook. First rule, I said, looking around the table. We stop improvising. Nobody argued. For the first time since this whole thing started, the room was listening to the right person. Here's something most people don't understand about payroll systems. They're not just software. They're like archaeological sites, built up in layers over years. Every regulation change, every union contract modification, every edge case that somebody figured out how to handle, it all gets embedded in the code. Ryan thought he could just scrape off the top layer and start fresh. What he actually did was destroy the foundation, and then act surprised when the whole thing collapsed. I opened the transaction logs. Sarah stood beside me, eyes red but focused. I didn't know these even existed, she said quietly. Most people don't, I replied. They're not for speed. They're for truth. Hour by hour, we rebuilt what the spreadsheet had destroyed. Not guessing, not improvising. Following the actual trail of what happened. One transaction at a time. Patrick hovered near the doorway. So we don't rerun anything? He asked. No, I said. We reconcile. Rerunning multiplies damage. Reconciling isolates it. He nodded and stepped back, finally taking notes instead of looking for shortcuts. The work went slow. Had to go slow. Every adjustment needed confirmation. Every confirmation needed a second set of eyes. No more of this move fast and break things nonsense. We were dealing with people's rent money. Around midnight, Sarah leaned over my shoulder. That overtime rate shouldn't move, she said. It doesn't, I replied. Watch the dependency chain. She traced it with her finger, following the logic. Oh, that's why it failed. That's why it always worked before, I said. By 3 a.m, something shifted in the room. The frantic clicking stopped. People weren't scrambling anymore. Every number started landing where it was supposed to. Nicole Davis from finance showed up just before dawn, coffee in hand, and worry lines around her eyes. The bank's asking if we're ready. We are, I said. Send the file exactly once. Nobody rushed this time. When the transmission confirmation came through, the room let out this collective breath. Not relief exactly, more like recognition. This was how it was supposed to work. Sarah checked the portal with steady hands. "Pay stubs are updating," she announced. "They're correct." I closed the final log and stood up. "Notify the crews. Full pay plus compensation for downtime." Patrick didn't hesitate. "I'll handle it." As people started filing out, Kevin lingered near the back. "You did in hours what we couldn't fix in days," he said. I looked at him straight. "No. I fixed what never should have been broken. The system was stable again. Everyone in that room knew exactly why. But here's the thing about fixing someone else's disaster. You don't do it to make them feel better. You do it because 8,500 families are counting on that paycheck hitting their bank accounts on Friday morning. The satisfaction comes later, when you realize you don't have to stick around for the apologies. Who pays the price when leadership chooses ego over evidence? The answer came in waves over the next few days. Sarah showed me the confirmation email. Every crew's been paid. Full amount plus compensation for the downtime. "Good," I said. "Make sure the notice goes out company-wide." By mid-morning, Kevin called me into his office. No assistants this time. No son. Just a single document waiting on the desk. "This is the statement," he said. "Legal approved it. I read it twice. Clean language, no weasel words. The payroll failure was caused by a premature system replacement initiated by executive leadership without adequate review." "You're putting your name on this," I said. He nodded. "I am. And you understand this doesn't make it disappear." "I do," he said. "But it makes it accurate. Michelle Thompson from compliance showed up with a thick binder. The state has accepted the explanation," she said. "They're recording it as a governance failure. No further action pending monitoring." "Monitoring for how long?" Kevin asked. She didn't sugarcoat it. "As long as they think necessary." The door opened again. Jessica from HR, folder in hand, eyes fixed on the paperwork instead of the people. "We've completed the internal review," she said. "The decision is termination with cause." Nobody needed to ask whose termination. Kevin closed his eyes briefly, then nodded. "Effective immediately." Jessica glanced at me. "Your documentation helped clarify the sequence." "I kept records," I said. "That's all." Later that afternoon, I passed Ryan in the hallway. No confidence now, no swagger. He looked like someone who'd just discovered that actions have consequences. He didn't speak, neither did I. By evening, the workers had their money. The regulators had their explanation. The company had its scar. And the leadership team had learned something expensive about the difference between innovation and disruption. Credibility doesn't grow back on a schedule. Once it's gone, every decision carries the weight of that loss. 2 days after the regulators closed their file, Kevin made his offer. "Permanent position," he said, sliding a contract across his desk. "Expanded authority, clean slate. I didn't touch the paper. I'm done being the safety net for decisions I don't make. Consulting ends this week." He studied me like he was looking for some angle that wasn't there anymore. "You could rebuild this place." "I already did what mattered," I said. "I made sure people got paid." The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was just final. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in boardrooms with executives who'd watched the news coverage real carefully. They all asked the same question, just phrased it different ways. "We don't want speed," one CFO told me straight up. "We want certainty." "That costs discipline," I replied. "Not shortcuts." They signed without trying to negotiate down. 3 contracts, all focused on compliance, all independent. No loyalty clauses, no office politics disguised as innovation. Sarah called on my second day working for myself. "They downsized again," she said. "Half the executive floor is gone." "And payroll?" I asked. "Stable," she answered. Boring. The good kind of boring. A few months later, word came through the industry grapevine that Kevin had resigned quietly. No big announcement, no farewell tour. Just an empty office and a line in some SEC filing that nobody celebrated. I drove past the old building one afternoon without slowing down. Same glass, same logo. But the difference was inside, in all those empty executive offices and the lessons they'd learned the expensive way. You know what I realized? I hadn't won by staying and fighting. I'd won by leaving with my work intact and my reputation clean. The new clients kept coming. Defense contractors mostly, companies that had watched what happened and decided they didn't want to be the next cautionary tale. They wanted someone who understood that payroll isn't a place to experiment. Before I closed my laptop each night, I kept one line at the top of my client onboarding document. Experience is not the opposite of innovation. That line was for them, sure, but it was also for me. One evening, about 6 months after everything went down, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, it was Patrick Rodriguez. "Hey, Daniel," he said. "Got a question for you." "Shoot. My brother-in-law is starting a construction company. Needs someone to set up payroll from scratch. Someone who knows what they're doing." I smiled. "Tell him to call me Monday." "Will do." "And Daniel? Thanks for coming back when we needed you." "Thanks for listening when I did," I said. After I hung up, I sat there thinking about the whole thing. The arrogance, the crisis, the recovery. The way some people have to learn lessons by breaking things, and the way other people have to clean up the mess. Here's what I figured out. When someone dismisses your expertise because it looks old-fashioned, they're not really rejecting your methods. They're rejecting the idea that experience matters. They want to believe that good judgment can be replaced by good intentions, and that enthusiasm can substitute for knowledge. But systems don't care about your intentions. They don't respond to enthusiasm. They work according to rules that took years to develop and understand. You can call those rules outdated if you want, but when you ignore them, reality has a way of sending you a bill. The satisfaction isn't in watching someone else fail. It's in being proven right about something that mattered. In knowing that when the crisis hit, you were the one they called. Not because you were vindictive, but because you were competent. That's the difference between revenge and vindication. Revenge is about making someone pay. Vindication is about making the truth clear. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply being indispensable when everyone else is expendable. I opened a new document on my laptop and started typing a proposal for Patrick's brother-in-law. Clean slate, solid foundation. Built to last. The way these things should be done. Sometimes the best way to win is to walk away and let competence speak for itself. When the dust settles and the bills come due, people remember who actually knew what they were talking about, and they're willing to pay for that knowledge the second time around.